Hello, everybody. Back here again for Vlog a Day, and today is Monday, the 15th, also known as Tax Day, which doesn't affect us at all because we've had our taxes done for a long time and already got our refund back. So it is what it is there. But the rest of the world better have your taxes done by today. So today was a lovely, beautiful day to be alive. Woke up this morning fairly early-ish, earlier than I wanted to. Partly because I leave the curtains open here, the blinds and stuff, and look out at the mountain as the sun rises, and it's absolutely stunningly beautiful. So I am awake usually a little before the sunrise, but by the time the sun's up, I am up for certain. So but I got up, got around a little bit, came outside, had myself some donuts, enjoying breakfast here. So finished off the rest of my milk. I brought some chocolate milk with me, some True Moo, which is the best chocolate milk I can find in Florida. I've looked all over, still nowhere near AE quality gourmet milk from Iowa, but it's the best I can find. So went ahead and knocked it out. Had more donuts than I should have. I had a lot of donuts, like 4 donuts. It's a lot. So, but sat out here on the patio, a little chilly. Threw a blanket over my legs, and when it warmed up in the sun, turned out to be a beautiful day. But I hung around here for a couple hours, maybe 2.5 hours before my wife got up, and had myself a nice little cigar. She got up and around, and we were planning on going to breakfast somewhere because she kind of likes the idea of going and getting breakfast, but it was getting that kind of weird late time frame, and I was like, yeah, it is what it is. So went ahead and said, hell with it. She finally got around and whatnot. We got stuff together, got the cooler, a few items to the cooler, got a couple cigars to go for the trip. And we decided today she wanted to head over to do the Tail of the Dragon, which those of you who are not familiar with, it is I believe it's an 11-mile chunk of road that has like 300 and some turns in it, whatever. It's super windy and curvy and whatnot. And a lot of people love to come up here with their exotic sports cars and Lamborghinis and Porsches and Vets and all kinds of crazy stuff. And everything Honda Civics as well, and minivans and Jeeps. And every once in a while you see an RV pulling a trailer, and it's always a little scary. But we headed up there in our Ford Focus, which is just bone stock 2013 Ford Focus, 5-speed though, with really good tires. I did upgrade the tires. Last time I bought tires, I bought the best tires, because the time before that I bought kind of shittier tires, I guess, lack of a better term. And the plan was to buy a different car back then, and she never picked out a new car yet. So I thought this time, I don't know if she'll get a new car picked out yet or not either. So when it came time for tires, I went and did a ton of research on the absolute best wet weather tires I could find, because in Florida, that's one thing we get. We don't get snow and stuff. So I wanted rain, and they're pretty good on dry land. They're not great on the rock roads, which I've been running around also down here, and they don't do splendid on it, but man, they do really good on the dry blacktop and wet blacktop, especially if it's raining. They are in concrete, and that they kick complete ass. And bothered by some kind of damn moth-looking bug things. They're just super annoying. They'll land like right inside your ear, and there you can see it flying around my head right now. So, but we headed up there with the plan of doing lunch up there, and there's like a little bar area, has like burgers and stuff. And the reviews kind of made it sound like it was overpriced, just kind of garbage burgers and whatnot. But I'm like, hey, who knows? God, it landed right on my forehead. But I thought, what the hell? We'll just go kind of support there and stuff. So we headed up that way, and along the way, we weren't really in a big hurry to get there per se. So we definitely wanted to go on a weekday, because weekends get pretty packed and the road gets congested, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. So we headed up, and on the way we kind of just hit a couple of little rest stops in different little beautiful areas and stuff, and pulled off in one little roadside park area, rest area thing underneath one of the dams, and it was just really gorgeous little river stream. And the main reason I ended up in it is I looked over and saw some people out there standing in the water fishing, and I thought, well, if it's, if it's access for them to walk over and fish it and stuff, it's probably a good parking spot. We can walk around, look at some water, and check it out. So unfortunately, the water coming out of the dam was so violent sounding, it just had a lot of turbulence and whatnot, and it had a ton of water flow coming out. It just wasn't that peaceful babbling brook sound. So we didn't really stay there very long, but we headed up in the car, drove up to the top of the dam, checked out the big lake and stuff, just kind of see what was up there in different couple little spots, and headed on up to the Dragon. Got to the Dragon, pulled into the little spot where the burger slash bar is, and walked around a little bit, and the prices were rather high for what was told to be, according to all the reviews online, just frozen like Bubba burgers that they were basically chucking on the grill, and then some cheap ass buns and stuff. So she decided she wasn't really that hungry yet, so we decided we'd go ahead and run the tail. Not sure I got some animal out here below me on the deck, which I'm second story up, so I'm not worried about that, but I'm trying to tell. wonder if it's deer, but man, it's making a lot of noise. It sounds more like small bear type sound, because deer don't usually make that much noise. But went ahead. I can't see. It's dark as heck out there, and light behind me. I can't see nothing. So, but went ahead and got to the tail, and we were there. There's really no sign like saying that's the tail that way, because there's like a 3 intersections right there kind of thing. So I asked somebody, he's like, yeah, go that direction. I'm like, okay, cool. So we headed up, and she somehow found, they said it was like an hour and a half or something to run the dragon, and it doesn't take that long. It's 11 miles. Speed limit is 30 mile an hour. And they say that if you know how to drive and your car handles where the damn, you can take virtually every corner about 30 also. So used to be 50 mile an hour speed limit, and they lowered it down because there was a lot of people getting killed and stuff up there and that. So we headed up. I gave myself a little gap so there's no cars coming. Had went up ahead, so I didn't have to worry about running up on top of somebody. And we headed up, and I wasn't really like pushing it hard, but I was pushing it spiritedly. Let's just put it that way. So main thing I was trying to do was basically run the tail without really hitting my brakes, because I wasn't speeding up to 50 or 60 mile an hour, in the straightaways and stuff, which there's not many of. But I was getting up there pretty good. I think I got like 62 at one point, just to say I went fast on the dragon. But I was diving into a lot of the corners, downshifting and stuff, and mostly ran the whole thing in second and third gear and just ripped it up. And then I get to my corner, let off, let the motor pull itself back down, dive in the corner. The main thing and there's signs, other stuff, main thing I researched a bunch online on YouTube is never cross the line, because whether you're cutting a corner in or cutting a corner out and stuff, you want to stay on your line, because a lot of guys come to the direction, especially motorcycles, are really just hauling ass down through here on these roads, and a lot of motorcycles get hurt and stuff. There was a decapitation where the guy was going wide into a corner, the car was on the yellow line, the guy coming around the corner was hauling ass and leaning way into it, and his head was actually over the yellow line, and from what I heard, took his head off. So I'm trying everything I can to stay on my side of the yellow line. Like, I don't think, maybe once I might have touched the yellow line, but I was adamant about not crossing the yellow line at all. Just didn't want to mess with it. So we did see a couple of incidents stuff. There was some cops out there, and it looked like there was a nice little wreck kind of thing. So we kind of was able to avoid it kind of deal. Wasn't a big deal. And caught up to a Jeep who was going, I don't know, he thought he was trying to go fast, but he was not. And I was like, God damn, like, I was kind of like behind him, like, you see me caught you, right? Like, just pull over. There's a lot of pullover spots. Just let me go by. And he didn't want to let me go by, and didn't want me to go by. And I was like, what the hell? So I was kind of getting a little bit annoyed, but I don't want to be the dickhead who, like, pushes up on somebody. I don't want to tailgate somebody, but I also want him to know I'm here, and I want you to pull over for me. So I said, hell with it, and we popped up around a corner and saw a big sign that said road construction coming up, or road work, whatever. So we just got to it. Then probably, I don't know, maybe 150, 200 yards past the road, construction was a little lookout spot. So we whipped over at the lookout spot, hung out there for, I don't know, 6-7 minutes stuff, let the traffic flow by. A handful of vehicles went by. There was an old guy in a Corvette we talked to at the beginning of the tail that had left after us, and he went by, and he was behind a work truck. And I'm like, oh, you're gonna have a miserable trip. But I think the way it kind of, like, he was gonna be there for a while, like making a trip up and down, because we saw him go back later. But so we basically waited till he got a gap, and then I took off. I gave myself a big gap so I could then drive a little faster if I wanted to again. Ripped through the dragon, got to the end, had a great time. Wife was a little bit spooked a couple times, which wasn't too bad at all. If you get scared, tell me, I'll slow down. I'm doing this basically just for the fun of it. It's first time on it. I don't know the road at all, don't know none of this, which makes it a little bit on the sketchier side, because I have no idea where I'm going, and it is what it is. We got to the other end, and then we talked about going back through it, because it was like, I don't know, 25 minutes, wasn't very long. So it was a lot less than what she thought it was going to be. We talked about going back down the dragon and then coming back home, and she decided to keep on going that way. So we headed on out and then started looking around. Online, she found a Chinese buffet, which she thought she'd go do for like kind of a late lunch, early dinner kind of thing. And we went to the place. We drove, I don't know, 20 minutes or so kind of out of the way on our way home. Just kind of took a different route to see some different sights and hit a couple little pull-out spots, beautiful spots and some lakes and stuff, just absolutely gorgeous scenery. Went to the Chinese buffet, and it was switching over from like lunch to dinner, and it was just a strip mall Chinese spot, and it was pretty sketchy looking. Like, it was just, it didn't feel like a warm, fuzzy place to be eating at. So did a little more. I was like, let's just skip this. Let's go to the next one. So we went ahead and looked at the next one, drove over to it, which added a little more drive time again, but it's gorgeous scenery. Who gives a shit? We're just driving all day up here every day. Who cares? So ended up the next one. It was a much better place, and like $8 cheaper. So saved $8 and had, I think, what looked like much better. The other place may have tasted better. Who knows? The food there was good. It wasn't great. The sushi was lacking, lack of a better term. It was pretty good. So we had our meal there and then headed on back. Just driving back through, came into the cabin a different direction, and on the way as we were driving along, I saw a sign that said something there, falls, whatever, like 3 miles that way. So I'm like, yeah, let's just turn it. So I whipped down it, and I wasn't certain I was on the right road. It looked almost like a private driveway. It was a rock road. It was pretty sketchy. It looked a lot like the roads we up to our cabin. It's pretty rough road. So we're driving pretty slow because I'm in a Focus, for God's sake, kind of thing. But we were just cruising along and stuff. End up finding a little turnoff point, and then to where it was a trailhead to the waterfall. And I was like, I'm this close. I've got to at least hike it down a little ways to see how far it goes and that. And she's like, yeah, I'll stay here. So she didn't feel like walking it, kind of thing. So I walked about a mile or so down the trail, and it was switchbacks and stuff. And I got close enough I could hear the fall, but it wasn't anywhere near. I'm like, I'm out here a while. Like, this is a while walk down here, and I haven't got there. And at this point, I'm leaving her back at the car. And if for anything else, even if I did get there, I'm going to stay there like 3 minutes to make it, so I don't feel like I'm leaving her there all day. So I headed back up to the car, said hell with it, and I was just walking. I wasn't running at all. And I got to where I started to sweat, and I was like, this is kind of altitude's kicking my ass. And a lot of hills and stuff. We got back to the car, and then we headed on out. Instead of going back to the main road, the GPS says we could take this rock road, this dirt road, this log road, whatever you want to call it, and it would get us to our cabin. So like, let's just try it. So we start heading on this road, and it gets a little sketchy at parts, and it's a little bit this and that, and a couple spots that you're kind of, I got to straddle ruts and stuff and whatnot. And again, I'm in a front-wheel drive 5-speed Focus. Like, this is not off-road equipment, but we're having a good time and we're just having fun. And I pull around the one corner, I pop down. There's a guy in a Toyota pickup truck with a little scooter on the back that he taken off. And he's got a little camper type set up, and he's got a little grill out in that. And right where he's at is a stream going, and the road runs through the stream, but it's you know, it's mountain, it's all gravel, so it's all rock and stuff, so it's not a big deal. It's not like dirt and mud and that, so it's not, you don't get stuck really. But then it went down the water, crossed, and it went up a little bump, and then went to the bigger part of the river, the creek, what I want to call it, and it couldn't tell how deep it was over there. In order to see it, I'd have to like walk through the water, and I didn't have any dry shoes put on, so I didn't do it. And I was like, God, I asked the guy, I said, have you been down there? And he goes, no. I've been a little ways. And he goes, it goes on down. He goes, within a half mile or so, it turns into another river. He goes, I didn't go through it, but he goes, it looks pretty flat. He goes, but it's like 150 yards wide, like it just up and down the whole thing. So like 150 yards of driving through a river. And I'm like, God, I can't do that in a Focus. I can't do it in a Focus. Like if I had somebody else with me in a tow strap and somebody else in even another Focus, I could keep them out of the water kind of thing. So one of us gets fully through it kind of thing. But I couldn't do it alone. So we turned around, which I hate doing. I hate turning around. I feel like I failed. Like I'm like, I should have been on this road to begin with, but I'm on like a logging road kind of thing in a Focus, but it is what it is. Last time we was up here years ago, I was in up by Blowing Rock, North Carolina. I ended up on a road for a while, and I got back and ran into a group of 4-wheel drive Toyota trucks. And they said they had been in 4 low to get where they're at for like the last like 6 miles. And I caught them on their slow driving 4-wheel drive low thing. And I caught up to the group, and they're like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, we're just driving roads. Like we just saw a road, we turned, and he goes, you shouldn't be here. And I'm like, it's fine. And I went around them, and I remember like, I'm ahead of the 4-wheel drive Toyotas now. I thought, worst case, whenever I get stuck, they'll come pull me out. But I got to a part where the road was sketchy enough. So I'm like, okay, I don't think we're going to be going here. So I had to turn around then too. So I've had to turn around a few times in a Focus that I shouldn't have to do, but got back up this time to the main road, came on back, and we come rolling into the cabin, and we came in, and instead of turning the main driveway up, I looked on the GPS and it looked like we could take a loop on kind of around the private property here. There's like a bunch of houses out here that all have between 1 and 5 acres on this mountainside. And we drove on around to it and stuff, and it was some sketchy shit. Like you could tell it was definitely not, it doesn't get used very much. Everybody out here is driving 4-wheel drive trucks and stuff. They're not driving Focuses. And I came to the one part, and it was like this big ass hill, and somebody had dug a berm into it for like erosion, deal. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, this looks rough. So I walked up the hill, and I'm like, if I can get over this bump at the bottom, I can get to the top. Which most people, what they would do is you would dig a trench for erosion. These guys built a berm, which I think was to stop people from driving the loop, is what they really done it for. But a truck would have made it over. But as soon as she's done, I'm like, let's try it. And she's like, what? And I'm like, if we can make it to this bump, we can make it to the top of the hill, because the top, I'd walked there, it's not that bad. It's steep, but it's kind of gross, but it could be done. So I went to drive the car up on it. I'm trying to go like a super big angle. I don't know if you guys have really ever tried to like drive over logs and stuff, but you got an angle that works better. And I got the front tire over it, and then it hangs up. I'm like, gosh, shit. I'm like, I'm gonna be stuck here. Which I looked around, there's some big rocks or some big logs. I could always stuff underneath it now. And again, I'm within a mile of the cabin. I might walk back, get some tools or whatever, and a shovel or something. So I basically back up. I go at a different angle. I gotta go like way at the edge of the cliff, like right on the edge of the mountain, to like go up over it. And my wife's like not real happy. She's like, "Oh my god, what the hell are you doing?" And I'm like, "It's fine, it's fine." And I go get stuck inside, back up. And I try the third time, like completely different angle. And I'm like, God, if I could just, there's every part of me wants to just punch it, just kind of jump over this and drag my bottom of my car over, which again, paid for Focus, who cares? But I don't want to get stuck here and have to go ask some of his neighbors to pull me out with their truck kind of thing. So I'm like, what the hell? So I went ahead and said, okay, cool. So I gave up. So I backed back around, turned around, and then went all the way through. And it was one of those deals where I've had a few different times here where I had to do some U-turning and stuff. And there was another trail earlier by Hanging Dog Park that we had to do a U-turn on also. That was kind of sketchy. So it's like 3 times I've had to couldn't make the road, but it is what it is. So I got back, came all the way back around, got to the house, and was here. Went ahead and finished my cigar, and then went for a run. It was dark, so I grabbed my headlamp and went for a run. And I gotta tell you, I ran over to where the top of that hill was, the opposite direction, and it was half mile from the cabin. But if it wasn't for that bump, I would have been fine. If I went the other way, I would have been screwed, because I would have looked down and thought, oh, it don't look that bad. And it was steep enough hill, I would not have been able to back up it. So at that point, I would have had to either got out and started kicking trying to shovel it out with a stick or something to knock down some spots. I would not have been able to back up that hill in reverse. There's just no way I could have done it. So I would have been, I looked like I came the opposite direction. I got lucky there. So I got real lucky there. But went for a run, and at one point the hill was steep enough that I couldn't, with altitude and everything else, I was exhausted. Plus I'd eaten a full buffet of Chinese, which I was pretty full from still, even this point late. And I went ahead and I said, so I had to I stopped my watch, so I didn't want to know how I was running, and walked back to the top of the hill, and then ran the rest of the real steep part, and then I ran the rest. So I got my, run streak alive, kept that going, ran around a little bit and stuff, came back, grabbed myself a shower, and then decided to have a little bit of my Screwball Tennessee whiskey, or Screwball peanut butter whiskey. And I made up the same amount that I always, the same number of shots in one drink and that I have at home, that normally helps me kind of my muscles relax and help me sleep a little bit. And I don't know if it's the mountain altitude or if it's I've been running, it's fact, blah, 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 whatever. But that stuff kicked my ass. I was drunk. I would not, it made me a little bit sketchy. I'd be a little bit concerned about doing stairs at a fast pace. I was drunk. I was like, wow, this really kicked my ass. So, but yeah, other than that, went back in, finally went to bed, pretty late. Came in, my wife was exhausted. She didn't even wake up when I came to bed. So I was watching some Netflix in there, and it was, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning before I finally got my brain shut down, and then I called it a night. So that's all I got for now. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have yourself a safe, wonderful day. Thanks for watching.